The issues around gaming exclusivity is a problem far beyond the VR industry, but people keep saying that developers have to develop for the Quest store or they won't be able to make a profit. This recently being confirmed again by another developer's story, the developer of the game Eye of the Temple, a procedurally generated game where you actually walk around in your real play space, saying that they didn't turn a profit until they launched it on Quest. They show a graph here of their original launching of Eye of the Temple and how it had a slow burn over time building sales on Steam, where when they dropped it on the Quest, the sales looked almost exponential. Even after being released so many years prior on Steam, the developer has said that it has now turned a profit and returned 140% back on its initial investment, half of that coming from the Quest. Other games like Super Hot VR before showing that once they had the Quest port, it outsold the Rift version by about 300%. I will say, after personally playing Eye of the Temple, it is a game that benefits a lot from being fully wireless and standalone on the Quest, and I think that might be part of why it succeeded so much more. But with this, it does make sense why so many developers are trying to make sure they make it on the Meta Store. As Eye of the Temple developer Johansson says, the Quest is easily the most important VR platform. In stark contrast to their success, we were just telling you recently about a game called Micro Machines VR that launched about 2 weeks ago on the Quest Store, and it looks like that developer is now shutting down. This is the same developers that developed Battlebow before, and although its Upload VR cites the Texas-based studio or its CEO haven't released a formal statement yet, layoffs were corroborated by multiple employees over LinkedIn and Twitter, and this means the studio of about 35 people look like they've all been laid off. We were recently talking about layoffs in the industry, as we see that a lot in gaming. Archiact, one of the developers of the Doom 3 VR edition, let a lot go, and recently we told you First Contact Entertainment, the developer of Firewall 0 Hour on PSVR 1 and recently Firewall Ultra on PSVR 2, completely shut down. The gaming industry is often volatile with layoffs, but what does this mean for people out there who are interested in developing? Does this mean you want to go out on your own, or are you still looking for jobs at some of these companies that hire and then lay off as they have game contracts? One of the most highly anticipated shooter games of the entire VR world has been Vail VR for many years now. If you don't know Vail, this is a game that promises the most realistic gun mechanics and combat style out there. It's been in early access, a 5v5 tactical shooter. Not only has it been out in early access on Steam for a long time, but it actually came out on App Lab recently last year. And now the full release is coming on February 15th for both platforms. With the release of version 1.0, they're promising new maps, a friends list, unlocking systems for weapons and skins, advanced matchmaking systems, which could be helpful because if you jump over to the Quest store and look at reviews, the game has very high reviews, about a 4.7 out of 175 ratings. People saying it's the best thing out there, but people mentioning that age, preference, toxic communities, and then just players being so good who have played it a long time really can make the game hard for newbies to join. The game releases next month, although currently in early access at $20, it will be going up to $30 at launch. Just a few days ago, The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners finally got the Quest 3 treatment we've been waiting for. It's reported that it now takes full advantage of the Quest 3's hardware, and as we saw in some of the earliest graphic comparisons, the game looked a lot better than what we got on the Quest 2, with much deeper shadows, much more realistic looking environments. Of course, still sticking to its cartoony style. It was surprising that it could look this much better though, just based on hardware. This is one of the biggest games in VR of all time, and so if you've been holding off and you got the Quest 3, now might be time to finally jump for it. And the game shows it's been successful, as they recently announced that the game has grossed nearly $100 million in revenue. But Skydance Interactive did reveal that this also does include Chapter 2 in this $100 million figure. The new update adds dynamic shadows, expanded draw distance, higher environment detail, and further zombies in the open areas and more. What do you think? Are you going to go back and revisit this to see how good it can look on the Quest 3? I'm definitely going to. One of the earliest social VR experiences, Rec Room, is now finally going full body with its avatars. We've seen a slow evolution over the years from the original just being bodies to adding things like ears and noses and kind of splitting the community on how they felt about them, but now they're going to add optional full body avatars this March. The bodies will be compatible with all of your existing outfits you already have, and you can choose if you want to have the full body or still have the floating hands. In an interesting rollout, they are going to be available first to level 50 players. Those are people who have spent a lot of time in Rec Room, although I spent a lot of time back in the day, but it was capped below 50, and once they added the 50 level, I never made it up to that level. If you're a Rec Room player or not, I'd love to know in the comments, what do you think of how these look versus the old ones, and do you think they're going to be embraced, or do you think the Rec Room OGs are going to be pretty resistant to these? A familiar old name from gaming, and it's hard to believe it's over 10 years old now. Slender the Arrival, aka Slender Man, is now going to be coming over to VR. This is following their big 10th anniversary update and a very small teaser bringing us back and showing us that there is something more to expect. Unfortunately, this is very early news, so we have no idea what platforms this this is coming on or really anything about it. It is worth noting that the developer, Perp Games, has developed mostly for PSVR 2 so far, even exclusive games like Crossfire Sierra Squad or games that came out first like VR Skater. Is this something that interests you out there? Is Slender Man still something that keeps you up at night? Let me know in the comments. We've talked before on the channel about a game that's not well enough known, Retropolis for the Quest. A game that has a lot of very positive reviews and a very low price now has a sequel out, Retropolis 2. This just dropped and already is looking at about a 4.8 star rating with 35 ratings, although Retropolis 2 is a lot more expensive than original Retropolis at $24.99, where you can get the original game right now for $6.99 on sale. This is a point-and-click style adventure game, but some exciting news about it too is that they have said they are dropping a free mixed reality spin-off to check out, although that unfortunately won't be coming until January 31st on Quest App Lab. But so far, Retropolis 2 is out with almost all 5-star ratings, and even the lowest ratings only saying that either the puzzles are too hard or they wish they'd add Spanish subtitles. If this game snuck past you, it's definitely one to watch for, especially if it goes on sale. A weird story that's still kind of developing, so I didn't want to go into it too deep here, but Bulletstorm VR has launched to some very mixed reviews and apparently has been pulled off of the PS Store so far. People aren't sure yet if that's because of the issues with the reviews or if it launched earlier than it was supposed to, but something that we'll keep you updated about in the future news as more comes out. A lot happening in the space. We're definitely at that point again in VR. We're waiting for some more big titles to get announced after we got a lot of them this holiday season. Is there something out there you're looking forward to? Let me know down below. Thank you once again for being here with me, and I will see you in another reality.